გიო, ოჯახის ძროხა სად არის? ჯინსებში დავცვალე, In 1982, a Georgian man exchanged his family cow for a pair of Levi's jeans. It is 2 a.m. in Warsaw, and me and Leo are in a taxi going to a club, and suddenly, like 3 absolutely maxed out G-Wagons pull up on this empty street with us and a Lambo, all Ukrainian license plates. Me, having evolved biologically to an Eastern Europoid, knew who they were instantly, oligarchs, and all other people from funny Europe knew this instantly too. And Geopol said something about them being rentals. Rentals? I told him, my brother, they have license plates from a post-Soviet country. They own those cars. They are oligarchs. Oligarchs are the scum of the earth, and they are something I've gotten used to in my shitty fuck Soviet life. Boiling sausages in my shitty fuck ass 1-bedroom cum block that's allegedly an apartment suitable for housing 3 people, and watching motherfuckers driving their G-Wagons outside. Some people might think I am hating. I am, and I'm not alone either. Everyone, and I mean everyone except the oligarchs themselves in every post-Soviet countries hates oligarchs. And all this hate towards them comes from them not actually having earned their money, and the only way they got their money was because they were corrupt pieces of shit that exploited the collapse of the Soviet Union in a way that fucked everyone else but themselves. Basically, here's how it goes. Russia has a lot of gas and oil, and it is basically an oil company disguised as a country at this point. Now, that gas and all those resources were owned by the state during the USSR, but after it collapsed, they privatized it in the worst way possible. Basically, when they privatized those companies, it was time to give the key roles of these huge businesses such as gas in Russia to a couple of people who were friends of the regime. For example, if you take the second biggest oil company in Russia, Rosneft, its CEO is Igor Sechin, who got the role of CEO because he studied Portuguese and French in university, and he worked in Mozambique as a Soviet interpreter. Like, are you putting a dick in my ass and slapping me around here or what? How is this man the CEO of the second biggest oil company in Russia? What the fuck does he know about oil? The company is worth 223 billion, and he was friends with Putin since 1994 and got on his meat, and then he evolved to be the CEO of the company in 2012. How could I not see this? Now you see, this is the main issue with oligarchs. In most countries that are not post-USSR, when you see wealth, whether it's generational or not, someone had to work for it in some way and in some way deserve it. If you see Kanye buying a mountain, he made My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. He can buy the Caucasus if he wants to. I give the permission. If you see Topuria on a yacht, he knocked out a Macedonian. He's the best fighter in the world and he's handsome. He deserves that money. However, when you see these monkeys driving around in G-Wagons in these shitty commie block filled grey Moldovan streets, usually that money did not come from honest work. Usually it came from let's fuck people over and pocket all the resources and the money. And they're just the worst people ever. Like comically evil. Literally Lorax level type of bullshit. Actual scums of the earth that do not care about people at all, and the only thing on their mind is getting more, just a bit more power and a bit more money. Just greediness. Manipulating politics, manipulating markets, and sucking Putin's dick. So the thing is, after privatization happened and the oligarchs hogged up all the resources and the money, of course everyone else was broke when the oligarchs had infinite amounts of money. So they basically used this money to be gods among men. When people didn't have enough food, they were having yachts and G-Wagons. When people couldn't travel, they were taking vacations to Italy and France. So after all of this, the fact that people like to pretend that Eastern Europe is a very traditional and non-materialistic place, when in fact it's the opposite, and I'm fucking tired of hearing about traditions and shit when I grew up in this godforsaken fucking capitalist materialistic hellhole. I hate it here. People like to complain that, oh, America is not religious and gay and materialistic. Oh, have you visited any country in Eastern Europe ever? Please do not ask why 6 Rolls Royces pass you in a row in a country where the average salary is $500 a month. No, yeah. You think those Rolls Royces and Lamborghinis were bought with traditions or some shit? If we even think about this in a capitalistic way, it's not even that. It's just complete bullshit. It's just complete corruption on this fucking continent that already was ruined by my fellow countryman. Rest in peace, Stalin. You would have loved sugar-free Red Bull. Corruption. I am so tired of seeing my country on the news. Georgia has been in the news a lot lately, and can we stop it, please? Here's what I realized. Actual good countries do not get into the news. When's the last time you saw fucking Finland on the news besides them joining NATO last year? The only time you hear about Finland is once a year, and it's when they get named the happiest country in the world for like 18 years in a row now. In number 2 comes other countries you never hear on the news, such as Switzerland or Denmark in the happiness scale. Danes killed 17 million minks and they still did not get on the news. That's how cooked Eastern Europe is. Or like, I just wake up to DMs, saw Georgia on news in US, Canada, Australia, whatever, the rich countries. I bet the news were not talking about how we have beautiful mountains or good wine or amazing food or whatever.
That's good. That's really good. It tastes like stuffed cheesy bread, but the ingredient quality, how creamy the cheese is, the richness from the egg and the butter. The bread is really nice quality. It's baked off really well. I like this, man. It's good. I'm not gonna lie.
If your country keeps ending up on news, your country is cooked. If the Georgians are having a revolution, resist Georgians, fuck Russia. And the only time you see Finland going up on the news is like, oh, Finland has made ice cream free. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. And all this corruption leads to you just seeing the most bullshit per capita on the whole continent. And let me be clear, the only reason this corruption exists is because the privatization of all the gazillion dollar industries from the USSR was just handled by a few people, and they just divided up the entire wealth and resources of, at that time, the second most powerful country on earth with like 100 people. So, you know, that's not good. You know, the USSR's population in 1989 was 286 million people, so you can just see the numbers that the privatization was not handled very well, and it just created oligarchy, which has created literally 100% of the corruption in Eastern Europe. I'm Georgian, so I have being a dictator in my genes, but this time I will be a better communist than Stalin was. Listen, get me into power. I'm taking all these oligarchs, yachts, G-Wagons, and fucking 18 mansions. I'm selling them and I'm buying buses and building metros. They can get around just fine with a Civic. They don't need a yacht and a G-Wagon and a Lambo. Public transport in these countries is suffering because these motherfuckers stole the wealth to get G-Wagons for themselves. I know the electric G-Wagon is so cool because it spins around and stuff. So if you don't want me to spin you around, make you face the wall and have my 18 people Ceausescu you. You tell me where you got the yacht money from, and you had better have hit a fucking jackpot at the casino, because I'm not taking any funny answers. For example, the old Prime Minister of Georgia, which just resigned a couple months back, got his son a private fucking jet to the United States, which cost him $34,000, and then he swore that he didn't pay a penny for it from the budget. Well then, Mr. $60,000 a year salary, where did you get the money from? I don't know, man. Paying for your kid studying in the United States, plus buying your wife a whole forest in Bakoriani, chartering private jets and buying Rolexes and Patek Philippe's that cost 100 grand doesn't add up in my maths personally with your salary, as you know. Hello, it is me, Joseph Djugashvili from Bank of Georgia. Gattsu needs you to buy these Georgian shirts. Why? So he can increase the GDP of his country and finally get enough visa privilege to enter the United States. So if you want to see Gattsu in a state near you, please go ahead and order these amazing 100% cotton t-shirts. They're very good and literally everyone loves them. So, you know, just go order it. You'll support me too. Okay, bye. Thank you for listening. TLDR is that people say that everything is about status, but if you are from Eastern Europe, that is just 100 times more important than in countries that were never ruled by a goofy mustache Georgian. Because if you have a Georgian and at the same time everyone around you is dirt poor, like struggling to eat food, and you're out here in your G-Wagon, you know, you're gonna get people on your dick. I'm gonna sound like the North Korean woman right now, but jeans were also pretty rare during the USSR and it was considered high class, which is why Levi's made this advertisement of a Georgian dude in 1982 who exchanged his family cow for a pair of 501 Levi's jeans. His family did call him an idiot, but he's a goat. This all lead to Eastern Europeans being obsessed with getting luxury Western stuff, BMWs, Mercedes-Benzes, and Western clothing or Western anything. Look at the McDonald's lineup the first time it opened up in the Soviet Union. The thing is, my source is people that grew up during the USSR. Essentially, they were telling me that growing up, they thought anything west of Berlin was just pure ass. The Soviet propaganda had convinced convince them that Europeans are basically starving, their technology is dog shit, and life in Europe sucks. Their education sucks and they're just all poor. Up until the wall fell, Soviet cars consisted of just Ladas. And the latest car released in 1991 was a Lada Samara, which looks just like the car from My Summer Car, or Initial D car, if the show was about farmers honking at prostitutes instead of drifting. And meanwhile in 1991 BMW had this. Now you can see the clear technological difference we're talking about here and who would rather drive what. Germany is of course known for their cars, but not only for its looks but also for their performance. But the Soviet education system was telling us like, no guys, actually, you know, Germans, one, they're gay, and second, they're starving, and also Lada number one. Also basically every car then was a manual, and when one of my relatives was growing up in a village here, he was telling me that one of his neighbors bought a 1984 Mercedes that was an automatic. First of all, he told me that he couldn't even imagine that cars could be automatic. He said if you told him cars could automatically switch gears, he would not believe you. And I think getting that new technology was absolutely insane for everyone in Eastern Europe, because remember, they went from Ladas to BMWs, M5s in a matter of weeks. And it created this image that BMWs and Mercedes are luxury cars, and if you want to be cool, you must own one or the other. So this is why all the oligarchs just gobbled up these cars, bro. When the wall fell and the Soviet assets were privatized, Germany's car manufacturers started making a stupid amount of money. So the fact that Soviets just straight up lied to us about how good our technology was and how bad the opposite side's technology was, and then like everyone became poor after the end of the USSR, and then everyone was basically rocking these BMWs, Mercedes, Adidas, and just Western brands as sort of a status symbol. You mean you're rocking Gucci in 1992, a year after the USSR collapsed, and everyone was just buttfuck broke or at war? Yeah, nah, you're good. But also poor countries do actually just love German luxury cars because Albania exists. Red and black I dress, eagle on my chest, proud to be an Albanian. Here are the world's favorite Anglos, Top Gear, describing the cars they see in Albania. You will always find luxury cars in poor countries because of the status symbol. You will find it way more in post-Soviet countries because on top of the status symbol, we didn't know those cars existed until the wall came down, and we didn't know how fucking cool this shit was because our glorious government lied to us about the glorious Soviet technology not actually being that good. Surely, this attitude of our technology cannot go wrong, and if it goes wrong, downplay it because we don't want the supreme leader getting mad at us attitude is not going to result in some horrible accident. Side note, nuclear energy is not bad. The only reason Chernobyl happened was because of the incompetence of the Soviets and them being like, oh no, everything's fine actually. Or in more simplified terms, Slavs don't know how to boil water. In my last video I got a lot of donations and I want to thank each and every one of you because what the fuck are these donations, bro? Thank you Narios, Spasmatic, Tungsten, Crescido, Janosch, Kauser, Reaper, Igor, Fidole, Tishkontia, or whatever, or the Dutch guy, and Jan Moritz. And also another madman Martian pig who decided to give me 150 euros on Patreon. I don't know why I got all these donations on the last video, but thank you and I really appreciate it. Heart emoji. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Am xela საბერძნეთში სადგეძებო ვერ ხვდები დაღლილი თვალები შენს ნახვას ელიან გამახსენდები და მეწკნება სიხედელიან